Good evening, Internet Land. I'm Ken with TACCOM HQ. I'm in the shop right now where we create all our wonderful inventions. The purpose of me being here today with the camera and iron mic right here is to show you the benefit of an Alpha Teric in conjunction with a Battlefield Zero. You can maintain a tighter danger space in your flight of your bullet if you use a Battlefield Zero. Battlefield Zeros are great without the Alpha, but with they can be just lethal, man. This Alpha, again, is taking what you're seeing and raising it higher. So in order to put the little red dot in this EOTech on the target, you have to aim the muzzle higher. And it's just correcting for the drop at a certain pre-prescribed distance. So I'll give you a brief run through of what this Battlefield is doing without, and then I will switch to what it's doing with, and I think the results on my iron mic here, 40-inch steel E-type, will speak for themselves. So what you've got going with a Battlefield Zero is I'm essentially zeroing at 50 or 200, and they will be about where I aim will be my impact, my bullet impact at that distance. So if I zero at 50 yards, if I aim here, I'll impact here. I will also, if I aim it at 200 yards, it'll impact pretty close to there too, because the bullet is rising and falling back into my point of aim. Without the Alpha Teric, if I shot here at 50 yards, it would impact here. At 100 yards, it actually impact about here. It's pretty nice. It doesn't rise too much over its line of sight. At 300 yards, however, it's going to start dropping off because the bullet is losing speed, so it's dropping more quickly. At 300 yards, if I aim here, my bullet will impact about here. And at 400 yards, if I aim here, my bullet will impact right there, and this guy's going to be pretty unhappy. That goes without saying. If I aimed higher in this scenario, at 400 yards, it'd probably impact somewhere around this without an Alpha. But the advantage of the Alpha, by the way, I stopped at 400. If iron mic here was at 500 meters and I didn't have an Alpha Teric, even if I aimed here, it's dropping 55 inches at that range. This is a 40-inch E-type, and I think really from here to here, this guy's taller than I am, and I'm slightly above average height. Even if I aimed here, with a 200-meter zero, my bullet impact would be in the dirt. It'd probably sail right between this guy's legs. So in comes the Alpha Teric. If I'm the shooter, I am going to engage from point blank all the way out to probably 300 meters without the Alpha. As you can see, 300 meters, my bullet impacts here. So if I aim here, I'm going to impact around there without it. But past that, this impact here for 400 meters is pretty dissatisfying. I'm sure I could hold high, hit somewhere around the navel, but I'd rather employ this, and what it's going to give me is an effective 400-meter alternate zero. So with Alpha Teric up, my point of aim here will impact here. I won't really need it inside of 400. If I did flip it up and the guy was, because this is real life scenarios here, enemies on the battlefield don't stand at 100-yard lines. So if I did flip it up and say he was at 350 instead of 400, we're probably going to get an impact right about here. If he was at exactly 3, I mean an impact right about here. So it's not like the Alpha is going to take it over his head, especially if I'm aiming center mass, which realistically is about there. We're still in a really enhanced danger space. Inside of 300 meters, don't really need it. If I don't have a laser rangefinder, I'm going to flip it up. I'm going to hit somewhere in this spot. 400 meters, point of aim, point of impact. At 500 meters, if I aim right here, my impact will be right here. As you may have remembered, with their 200-meter zero without the Alpha, our 500 meters, I'm aiming here and I'm still hitting the dirt. At 600 meters, our bullet is losing some steam pretty quickly. But if I aim this section right there, I'm going to hit, believe it or not, right around there. you got to think, if this is a 4 MOA dot, that means it's a 24-inch pie plate at 600 meters. So if I just lollipop that on the top of his head, I'm getting a pelvic girdle shot, target's incapacitated, he's out of the fight. So just a quick recap, I'm raising my target in my sight picture. So I instinctively, in order to use the same point of aim, I have to raise my muzzle to get this little red dot to sit on the bad guy's chest. What that does is correcting for the bullet drop over that distance.